Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in. That is completely uncalled for to start off a show, right?
You're going to see the whole show, unfortunately.
That is. I wish I was that but I do not wish for that acne.
Yeah, I'll try to cover it up a little bit. Here we go.
Yeah, that's good because we're trying to keep people here as long as possible. Man, well, I was going to try to be cool and show up. I mean, William Byron's not the only cool guy. I was going to show up like Willie B at Raw last night.
John Cena.
Yeah. And instead I got to see myself mid-puberty that I haven't seen, thank God, for a very long time. And now I hope my wife doesn't see that and go, what in the hell was I thinking? Not that she doesn't say that all the time anyway. So, whew. And yeah, that is Travis throwing Mankind off the top of the Hell in the Cell with the Undertaker. Holy cow. So thanks you guys for tuning in. Travis probably won't send you an invite anymore, but that's okay. So after seeing all that, let's go ahead and I guess somehow continue with the show. All right, welcome in. My name is Ryan Peters. That is Travis Butt with also Ryan Peters. And we are here for a weekly show. Got to do some iRacing last night. Found myself in victory lane somehow. I had enough incident points to make Ricky Stenhouse plus, I think, here recently. But it is what it is. Travis, you're in the middle of the final part of the season for coaching basketball here in the southeast part of Indiana. How's things been going on that front?
Lots of film, lots of studying, lots of analyzing stuff, lots and lots. I think I could look it up before we leave, but I think just last week there was I had 14 or 17 hours on film, just watching. Probably the week before that I had even more than that. So very. It's funny because we got another guy on our team that Coach Scalf, he's unbelievable with some of that stuff. He watches 22, 23 hours a week. So it's a matter of, we got to put stuff in. And so the iRacing is kind of set aside until basketball season's over. It's hard to do all that along with trying to work on a race car and everything else. So, and then, every so often we'll just do that.
Yeah,
so.
and every so often we'll go through people's Facebook profiles. And
hey,
for some
reason. Say that it was too good.
Yeah. Obviously, you still have enough free time on your hands. So yeah, the southeastern part of Indiana, well, the whole state of Indiana. This is the crunch time. This is really trying to get your team right before you enter sectional play. So I'm sure it's probably more busy now than ever. And as a coach, that what you get to be reimbursed for will never, ever be calculated to the right amount of hours that you put into it.
Let's see here. I did the math like 2 years ago when I first started coaching JV. I think with the amount of hours and everything, I made like 86 cents an hour, or it was like 89 cents an hour. So it actually could have been less than that, but I don't remember the exact total. I didn't add up every single minute.
Yeah. Well, the good news is Trump's going to take away tax on tips. So I'm sure that'll help you a whole lot.
Yep. The tip's not very big, but better nothing.
Oh, man. Well, I got to get your initial thoughts. I did a God. What? Plant in your cornfield. That'll scare the crows away. What are your thoughts on the Daytona 500? I gave my rapid race reaction, and and we're going to get into a little bit more of this discussion because I'm left with a bad taste in my mouth, and I don't want to be. I'm normally not the negative guy. I'm normally not the rant guy. I don't feel like, but man, here the last couple of days, I've just had this bad taste in my mouth. But I want you to go ahead and give your overall perspective of what was the Daytona 500.
It's a lot of side by side, a lot of you don't really want to be the leader because you want to save the most fuel. It's a lot of you can't go nowhere. It's handling's really not a factor. It's tough, right? You want to sit there and you want to be nice about it because it's the 500, but does the 500 mean the same as other races? Because it's just so you gotta be so lucky. I feel like anymore. And I think you watch like Denny Hamlin, for instance, like he's a guy that you would think he's a great restrictor plate racer, but like he can't win one of them, right? He's not going to win any of these restrictor plate. It's just too much luck involved. And like I said, at the end of the race, when they finally start having to race, we just see wreck after wreck after wreck. And like I said, my issue is these cars have so much drag and so much like as soon as they don't have a car in front of them, they're skyrocketing backwards. And then the timing on all that is just you can't control that, right? And then it just causes melee, and then you get these four wides and they can't do it, and it's done. So it's that's just my opinion. I don't it's hard. Like you sit there from a perspective and you like if from an outside person, like NASCAR's getting their wishes, right? They got as many cars as they can get in one shot. And if they got as many as they can get. But if you look at the truck race and you look at the Xfinity, like you got people racing, like people can go from the back to the front. People can go from the front to the back and then work their stuff back up there. If you're in the back, I mean, just not because Kyle Larson's my guy, but you look at him like the dude was never inside the top 8, 10 because everyone just saved gas and he had nowhere to go. So,
right.
I always think the Talladega race is maybe a little bit better because you can go 4 wide and you maybe start another lane, but it's just hard. It's hard to watch, especially when you watch Xfinity and you watch some of this other stuff.
Yeah. I want to lead off this show with something that I think is a true representation of my thoughts, my feelings, and for somebody that's we do this to bring entertainment to people because NASCAR's entertaining to us, and we want to carry on what happens on Sunday to you guys on a weekly basis. And somebody came up to me and said, I've never watched NASCAR. What should I watch? And they said, well, the Daytona 500 is a great American race. Should I watch it? No, I don't think I'd watch the Daytona 500. If you want a true representation of this sport. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll just wait till the end of the year when you guys choose a champion. No, I don't think I'd watch the end of the year when we race at Phoenix for the one time for the champion. So the 2 biggest trophies that we give away, literally nobody's going to remember it from a positive standpoint. I remember when Trevor Bayne won the Daytona 500 and how big that was because of what it meant. Like He came out of nowhere. He had a fast car. He was an underdog. Today, Travis, I still think I will remember Trevor Bayne winning the Daytona 500 before you and I doing this 10 years from now go, hey, remember that time when William Byron went back-to-back? And we're going to be like, oh, shit, he did go back-to-back, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Because he never led the race. He never was up there contending. He never did anything to be a driver deserving of winning, except what he didn't do was wreck.
Yeah.
And what he didn't wreck was luck. It had nothing to do with what he did. It had to do with everything that happened around him. If Austin Cindric would have won that race, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, before having the weird engine issues where they had to trade something out, all of those things you would have said, well, it makes sense. Those guys were fast. They had their teammates around them. Things put them in position to win. But Travis, in the span of 15 laps, we had 4 guys that we thought were going to win that race, and none of them were named William Byron. And the only reason why he won is because he just didn't happen to wreck.
Yeah, you hit it right. You hit it perfectly right. It's, and you think about the last restart. Austin Dillon almost got around him on the outside and almost pinched down. Austin Dillon would have been the winner. Then it's a completely different story, right? Because it's like, oh crap, something like that. And then you look at, the wreck, and you just look at some different angles, and you go, like, is this really the pack racing? And a lot of people did not like the tandem stuff. I love the tandem stuff. I thought it was interesting. I thought it made the race interesting. There was a different strategy involved.
It didn't require luck. It definitely required more thinking and more, you said execution than what we see now.
Yeah, and it goes back to, they don't want these cars going fast. The cars can't really get away. The handling's not there. They got so much drag on these things that when they get out of line, it's a parachute, right? They're going straight backwards, and then causes these, stack ups and everything else. And when these cars actually have to start racing, like, they just can't race. This car can't race. Like, that's what it comes down to. This car can't race on super speedways because of the drag factor, how to get someone out of the way, them have to pinch back in. It's a multitude of things like that.
Yeah, and I think another thing too that we're seeing from this, I heard Denny Hamlin say at least William Byron saved us from having somebody like John Hunter Nemechek win. William Byron doesn't move the needle for that to be possible. Like, he was at WWE and he looked like a fish out of water with a camera. He's the worst ambassador of the sport that you could possibly have, because the guy has no charisma. He has no character. Like you said before, he's got more energy building Legos than he does talking and promoting the sport. And that's not his fault. I mean, that he is who he is. But if you see these things and you put him out there because he's a back-to-back Daytona winner, and you're like, all right, tell us everything you did to win the race at Daytona. I just drove straight. Yeah. Like Daytona literally is what everybody says NASCAR racing is that doesn't watch it. It is just turning left. There is no passing. There's the facade that you're going fast and you're not, because everybody's going, what do we see? 45% throttle. I think at one point they said they were going 45% throttle. So
the qualifying laps are faster than the pack racing.
And that is absurd.
And then you got Xfinity cars qualifying faster than the Cup cars. So
yeah, but I think at 2 on, I tried to suppress the Joey Logano 3-time champ. I was here in my house, and when he won, I got to read all the negative stuff. I'm like, well, he did put himself in this position. And then I'm like, as much as it doesn't feel right, he put himself in this position. So then I wait the off season, and I'm like, NASCAR's back. And then I get this added to my plate, and I'm just like, oh man, these are our 2 biggest races of the year. The Daytona 500, there will not be a bigger audience the entire season than the Daytona 500. Yeah. It is by far the biggest audience. And like you said, if you watch Friday or Saturday, you're entertained. That's what super speedway racing looks like. When you watch those same series, more often than not, except on a mile and a half, those series are more of a representation of this sport, of what we used to know. Mm-hmm. But now, Travis, we're not going to remember 3-time champion Joey Logano for being one of the best ever in the sport. We're not going to remember the Daytona 500 being the pinnacle of the sport, because there's just way too much damn luck involved, and there's way too many things outside of the driver being the best race car driver.
Mm-hmm. It's frustrating. I know as a driver, they're frustrated. The owners are frustrated.
think that's Joe's mugshot.
Yeah. The fans are frustrated. So it's one of those things that, you move on. We don't get to see these races, and, we're going to go to like Atlanta where I feel like there's more, that's going to be a fun race in my opinion. I think they're going to, that race is produced. I think that race is actually produced. So handling comes involved, and that's what it comes down to, right? So, when we saw some of the best Daytona and Talladega moments is when handling was involved, and you had to actually have your car where, who could hold the throttle the longest. So, we'll see. Like I said, NASCAR's always evolving, and and they want to take out this fuel strategy. I'm sorry, but you're never going to take out this fuel strategy. Let's just be honest with you. Like the people figured out that's the way you got to do things, and you're not going to be able to take that away. That's just the way it's going to be. But you almost got to have like an incentive in there, or make people want to go and
take stages away.
Yeah, well, that's what that was the next thing. Like, do you do like the road course they did at the Brickyard a couple years ago, when they took stages out and see what happens? I don't know. Well, this is the reason this is the reason I'm a fan of NASCAR, not a minority owner in NASCAR. We'll see.
Yeah, I think the reason why Atlanta's been so good is because it's hard to drive. I mean, you're putting these cars on a mini Daytona. I mean, you see people spin out on their own, and traditionally when drivers are challenged, we, the fan, get to benefit from it.
Yep.
And last year, what made Atlanta so great was the finish under green flag. Mm-hmm. The 3 wide under green was one of the best. I'll never forget that day as long as I live. I'll never forget that finish. I mean, there's like finishes to me, and a lot of them is Kyle Busch, but I got Kyle Busch versus Kyle Larson at Chicagoland. I got that one, which was a loss. I got Kurt Busch coming back and beating Kyle Busch at Kentucky. All of those organically happen, and it's what made it when we were at Kansas. I mean, those finishes happening organically are what you remember forever. And at the Daytona 500, the last 6 Daytona 500s have finished under caution. And on top of that, even though that's last gen and next gen car, man, it just feels like we have not been treated to what could be, what could have been a great race, what could have been super speedway racing tracks. There's most people that only watch super speedway racing for NASCAR because of the as close as they are, and the movement of cars, and watching a guy go all the way back to 32nd and then within 3 laps make his way back up to 5th. And we don't have that anymore. And you're right. It's because there's no challenge to this anymore. There's no reason to do it. And then when they finally do have to race, there's no 3 wide. Can't.
Yep.
Like you said, there's a parachute. It's like an NHRA car after it hits the line. It's a parachute. Can NASCAR overcome this? Like, do you think if NASCAR continues to go down this road of entertainment, do you think the sport will suffer?
I think people go to Talladega to not watch racing, and then they just rather just drink beer, right? That's people go to Talladega for that. Well, the true NASCAR fans continue watching NASCAR. Yes, well, no matter if the racing single file for the next. But I think it's the same thing. We go back to, what was that? 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when Dale Jr. would get to the top. Guess what everyone would do? Follow the top. Pied Piper. Would we rather have that, or would we rather just have, what we got now? I think there's, what's different between them, right?
That's a good point.
What's different? People still watch. I still watch. But you're there for the finish. Do they just say, "Hey, we're gonna cut this to 50 laps and just be done with it"? I don't know. You're obviously not gonna do that. So, as a true NASCAR fan and someone that enjoys racing, it's not going to change me. I'm still going to watch. I'm still going to tune in. I'm going to find the pit strategy somewhat interesting. I think I'm going to like a Talladega more than I will Daytona because there's more passing and there's more space. Yeah, I mean, I went to Daytona this past summer to watch, and when you watch, like it's not terrible, right? You're watching all of them in the same group, and there's stuff happens. I don't know. I don't think it's anything detrimental, right? I mean, am I thinking wrong here?
Um, it's hard for me to say, man, because I try not to have my own thoughts be representation of everybody else's thoughts. I want to answer Zach's question. Um, hold on, let me pull it up, and I'll share this with you. So Zach said, "Yes, Joe, that is Ryan Peters behind the butt," and that's just wrong. Do you think NASCAR views this weekend as a success, or do you think behind the scenes they are scratching their heads? So I try to tune in, and not that X is the greatest source of what everybody's thinking, but I always look at these polls to see if I'm in the same thought process as everybody else, and if not, why. So 68% of you said yes, Daytona 500 was a good race. That would not be me. I did not enjoy it at all. I ranked 7 of 8 Daytona 500s in the poll, the lowest since 2021. The 2020 race was not polled due to Ryan Newman, and what I honestly God thought he was dead at the time. Ranks number 13 of 17 Daytona races overall. So it's the next to last Daytona race. But in today's world, 68.7% of people agreeing that something is good is pretty good. It's pretty good. So I think that NASCAR is absolutely okay with it. If it gets below 50, then I think they scratch their heads a little bit and go, oh, man, I thought all those cars driving around together would have made you guys really think that was a really good race. I think there is something to be said that just because things end in constant wrecking, I don't. We used to get the big one. Now we get 4 of them. And I just don't think fans are interested in that anymore, especially when they had to wait 3 hours to get the damn race started.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think they've been scratching their heads ever since they started this field mileage stuff, right? Because they're like, oh, we don't want you guys just driving around doing nothing. We don't want to watch that. And I swear to God, the reason they had that debris caution was all right, like we don't want to watch this. Like let's
everybody's gonna be good on fuel. Just drive, okay? Just drive.
Yep. So I think you look at that. You look at what do they find it a success? I think they do. They got probably the viewership. They got the sponsorship money. They got the money. They watched Dale Jr.'s team finish in the top 10. They've watched Jimmy Johnson finish 3rd. They watched, some underdogs lead. They watched some other stuff. So, I mean, NASCAR's going to check this mark that says success. They watched Dale Jr.'s team get a top 10. Jimmy Johnson got 3rd. They got a back-to-back winner. They're going to find that a success. Yeah. Do we find it a success? I think, what anymore? Like, what do you expect in a super speedway race? Right? You're gonna watch side by side. You're gonna watch field mileage. You're gonna watch teams go at 40 to 50% throttle. That's what you're gonna watch nowadays.
Yeah.
But I go back to what's the difference between doing that and then everyone going around the top side of the track following each other. Yeah. That they used to. So what's the difference?
That was bad. That was rough. I remember those days, and Atlanta sometimes produces some of that because it's hard to drive there, and I think a lot of times when it comes to super speedway racing, it's like I can't win it on lap 20, so why am I pushing it? Why? And honest to God, if you've ever done iRacing and you're in a 100-lap race at one of these super speedways, the entire time go, well, if I make a dumb move here, I'll never see the end. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll just ride around for the next 2 hours, and it's boring as hell. My mind goes 1,000 different places.
Yep.
And then once you see, all right, 10 to go, something clicks. And it seems like anymore, that's what we're used to. I want to shift gears to now the rest of the season. And I have a question for you. I've been thinking this for a little bit because we have a schedule change. this year, and I'm looking, okay, we had Daytona, we have Atlanta, then we have the Coda and Phoenix race. Am I wrong thinking that we may not leave March not actually knowing who's really having a good year with the way the schedule lines up? I feel like I'm looking at that and I'm just like, these are all just kind of random luck races, and I'm like, usually by the time you get to sprint, like William Byron had a hellacious beginning to the season last year. I look at this, Travis, and I go, I don't know if I'll know who the hell's actually good until we get to almost April.
Yeah. I think you got what? Let's pull this up. So you got Daytona, you got Atlanta.
Yep, we just had Daytona, Atlanta.
You got a road course who you would probably say SVG or one of them is going to be where it's going to be at. You got Phoenix. Phoenix is kind of a wild card. Last year at Phoenix, Larson was really good, and all of a sudden he fell off the wagon in the second half of the race. And I don't even remember who won last year. Who won last year?
Who won Phoenix last year?
Let me think here. I could probably rethink about it. Oh, it was Bell, wasn't it?
I thought Larson actually won it last year, to be completely honest.
He didn't win it last year. I mean, it might have been. No, he's only won there once. I have to go back and look. I'd have to go back here and look. And then you got Vegas, who Vegas is, he's going to tell you that's mid-March. Then you got Homestead. So you got two races in there that you might tell a little bit. And then you got April 6th, which is Darlington. So
you're correct. It was Christopher Bell.
I thought so. I thought I remembered that a little bit. He won it in the red car.
Craftsman car? Craftsman?
I don't think it was a Craftsman car. It was just a red car. I came from it starts with like the Rudd car, RUUD or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Kind of what he had when he was the 95. He used to have that in the Procore car.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I just look at that. And like you said, it's Shane Van Gisbergen wins or AJ Allmendinger wins.
Ream,
yeah, okay. Rudd was another sponsor.
Yeah.
They're black and red as well. But if SVG, AJ Allmendinger, somebody like that wins at Coda, then we get two good races. Vegas is usually a solid race. That's an HMS track here recently. And then we get, unfortunately, we have to see Homestead early. Always like seeing Homestead really, really late.
I'll be there.
Yep, that's a great race.
If you remember back in Homestead back in 21 when it was there, it wasn't that great of a race because it was so early in the year. Like the weather was cold and there was a lot of grip on the track, and I remember that race not being like anything special. William Byron won that race, but I don't remember that race being anything like crazy.
It definitely wasn't going to be like Tyler Reddick passing two cars on the final lap to win.
Yep.
And set himself up for a chance for a championship.
Yep.
Yeah, I just, it's kind of a wild card that we had this year with the schedule changing. I actually think the dog days of summer, Travis, will probably be more indicative to who overall has speed this year compared to what we're normally used to.
Yep, I agree.
So, any predictions you have for Atlanta? Is there a driver that you're leaning towards? Because I'll tell you who I'm leaning towards.
I think that the Toyotas look pretty strong. In Daytona, they look like they handled well. They look at speed, so I'd expect them. Obviously Joey Logano.
He's really good there.
He's been pretty solid there. He's good at super speedways. I think it kind of suits him. He won there in the fall last year to kind of push himself to the championship. So, yeah,
Byron's there good. He's been good there too.
Yeah, I think of the year he won it there. It was rain shortened. I think AJ Allmendinger finished second or something. So, there's definitely, it's definitely 22, 23, 24. Can you believe this is year 4 for this next gen car? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and this is year 3 for Atlanta.
Yeah, actually, I think it's year 4. I think the first year it's year 4 for Atlanta too. So,
Because I went the first time.
Yeah.
And Joey Logano won.
Yep, he won the inaugural. Then Byron won the fall race. So interesting. No, Chase Elliott won the fall race. Yeah, Chase Elliott won the fall race
in the Hooters car. Yeah.
No. He won it in. Remember, he wrecked Corey LaJoie on the last lap. Put LaJoie in the wall.
Oh, that's wrecked Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie made a bad block. Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah, and Corey LaJoie will be racing this week, so he'll be in your NASCAR FanDuel lineup.
I would say if you take a Penske driver this week, you're going to be sitting okay. I don't know if I would be taking a Hendrick driver. They didn't look rather super strong, so. You never know. Hopefully, we have another good race. Handling's in play there. I mean, Larson right there last year in the fall. So, the handling's an issue there. So I think we're gonna have maybe. That's why I keep saying with these super speedways. I think if they just cut down the spoiler 1 inch, you cut down 1 inch on the spoiler. Maybe do something with the diffuser or something like that. You won't have such a big parachute. Maybe make it like a short track type of thing. We'll see. I don't
Joe, know. I didn't bring this up because number one, I didn't want to bring up bad memory of you watching Kyle Larson wrecking literally right in front of you. I mean, literally wrecked right in front of you. So I didn't want to bring that up. That's why I didn't say that. So
is that Joe's legit mugshot? Does Joe have a mugshot?
I think it's the other way around. I think that's an employee shot, but you never know. I don't know. I don't know Joe's past, and I don't.
Is that the?
I most certainly don't know Joe's future. So, well, we will have more stuff. Again, it's kind of hard to predict what's going to happen. I think the best thing to come out of the weekend was probably Junior Motorsports looking to have an opportunity to join the sport, or wanting to join the sport and the Cup Series. That most certainly might change that most popular driver finally taken away from all the chase sexuals out there. I know that it's rigged, but oh yeah, well, when you're allowed to bring in your own alcohol, sometimes, dude, I'm sitting with Joe, and so this is when they were going at the top single file for the entire first stage. And I just was exaggerating, screaming, and here they come by again, one by one. Oh, they're screaming around. They stay in place. Like, it was just nonstop. But that was a good time. Joe froze his ass off camping because that race wasn't in February, which they'll freeze your ass off this time too if you decide to go. I think the morning of that race was 36 degrees. And then almost everybody left the Xfinity race because earlier, like this, when Joe's speaking of this, we did not see 5 green flag laps in a row for the first 2 stages. It got freezing ass cold, and everybody's like, the hell with this, we're leaving. So hopefully you don't see that because that was terrible. But, yeah. So, yeah, we'll get back into the swing of things, kind of get some, hopefully, some more consistency. I have a video coming out tomorrow called The Last of a Dying Breed. It seems like we're losing the etiquette and the professionalism of the sport when it comes to drivers. We got your 3-time driver, 3-time champion, only 3-time champion in the field, wrecking the field because he and Ricky Stenhouse are a lot closer to themselves than, say, Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch are to Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, in the yesteryears. And unfortunately, when you look at the youth, I don't think it's going to get any better because if the ARCA series is any type of ringing endorsement to the future of the sport, we're in a shit ton of trouble.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish is if I was there with Carl during that ARCA race.
Oh God, 300-pounder coming through. I want you to think about something. Think about how much money do you think Helio lost, or how much do you think he spent this weekend?
Bro, you know how much he spent? He made Pitbull quit Trackhouse.
Oh my God, man. He went. He can't do this no more. He made $0 at the Daytona 500 because he had to get that starting spot. He got $0.
And he wrecked
Zero.
He wrecked the dual car. He wrecked the 500 car.
He wrecked
the ARCA car. He got wrecked in the truck, right? Somebody dumped him after the race in the truck.
No, not in the ARCA. He didn't race.
Oh, in the ARCA. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
He wrecked in the ARCA race and then wrecked out. I mean, I don't want to know the total amount. I bet if I had to guess, he probably spent every bit of $750,000. Think about it. Destroyed the 500 car, then rebuilt that car, and then wrecked it again. He destroyed an ARCA car with fuel and maintenance. Oh, every bit of $750,000. Every bit of it.
I saw Tommy Baldwin said he wrecked everything but the ambulance, and that's only because he had somebody drive it when he got in the back. So, all right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for myself, my friend, I guess, Travis, but for vintage, very young, 60 pounds lighter Brian Peters in the back. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back after the Atlanta race. Hopefully we have a good show so we can do a nice post-race show. But that's going to do it for us here. We'll catch y'all next time. Stay safe and God bless.